Oh, it did work. All right. I wasn't sure. I'm still trying to learn. It says I could do an automatic start, but I don't know how to do that yet. So, yay. Thank you all for being here. I just wanted to welcome you guys and just kind of chat for a minute. So, a couple of housekeeping things. Ice is melting everywhere. So, if I jump or something, it's because ice is falling. Um, I was sitting here getting my lighting ready and everything, and all of a sudden I heard a noise. I'm like, what is that? Ice is coming off of everything. So if I jump, that's why. And then I have to leave my door open because I have an electric heater behind me, and it is freezing. I know Wayne said it's negative 11 there. It's like, I don't even know if it's 20 here. I have a blanket on and everything. I just can't seem to get warm. So, anyway, I wanted to kind of talk about that. And then we are still on the vision portion of our outline. So that's chapters 5 through 16. Today I'm hoping to cover 11 through 16. Or sorry, 11, 12, and 13. My bad. And I really want to go over the timeline. I really got confused. So I'll need all your help on this timeline. I started it. I have a lot, like a active timeline going on. So, uh-oh. For some reason, one of my phones is ringing. Hold on 1 minute. Let me turn that off. I have no idea. This is a phone number I don't give to anybody. Got up to minus 10. Yay! That's better than minus 11, right? Yay. I know I have a little bit of a lag, so trying to be slower at things. But yes, yay, it's not a negative 11. So, and then, so back to the timeline. Sorry, nobody has that phone number that I know of, and I don't know why it would ring. All these spam calls. I know my uncle is on Facebook complaining about all the spam calls he's getting. He's like, I'm getting 150 phone calls a day. They have to leave me alone. It's kind of funny because I get it. I thought they would never quit calling me. All right, so since it's been a couple of, well, I wanted it, for some reason, this was on my mind. I found this in my Bible. It's been in there for years and years. And I was praying about today just a few minutes ago before I came on. And it was like, I should post this. I think this is relevant for what we're going to talk about a little bit today. Fear. F for false, E for evidence, A for appearing, and R for real. False evidence appearing real. I think we see that a lot right now. And I don't know if that was in a Bible study I went to or where I got that, but one day I opened, it's not the Bible I'm using now, but the Bible I used to use all the time. I opened it up to read like the devotion, and that fell out of my Bible, and I'm like, I can't remember where it came from. I know it had to be a Bible study or something. Hey Rita, thanks for joining. Hope you're doing good today. I'm sure you have nice weather. We're talking about it being cold. I hope you do have nice weather. And if so, I'm coming over to visit. I'm freezing. I have my blanket with me today. So, but yeah, I don't remember where I got this, but I thought it was good. All right, so going back, just to kind of give us a, since it's been a couple of weeks, just trying to get back on track here. We know that John wrote the letters to the seven churches. He was exiled in Isle of Patmos. Oh, 42 degrees, Rita. Yikes! I was waiting for you to say like 75 or something. So you even got cold weather. Bummer. I like it to be warm. I'm ready for like 80 degrees, and it's only been not even a month yet. Ugh. I'm dreading this. Um, so then we have God on the throne with the elders and the beast. He had the sealed book. Jesus was the only one able to open the books. And there was seals with the horse. Okay, so then he was able to open the book, which had 7 seals. The seals had the horses. The horses go into action. And then I have a question. Does the rapture happen? And then the 7th seal gives us the 7 angels. and the angels go into action with their assignments. So I wanted to address that because as we go through this, we're going to be talking about timelines because chapter 11 really threw a wrench in my whole timeline thought process. So I thought that I had wrote this before I went and did some more stuff as I was studying chapter 11. And I'm like, all right, I might as well just keep it because it reminds me where my thought process was and where it's going to go. And if you all don't know this about me, I was a high school math teacher at one point, and that's what I went to college for. So when I'm looking at this and I'm trying to come up with, what do you call it? Come up with a timeline, I'm like, this is kind of like a math word problem because you have these times, you have all these placements. So I'm trying to like filter out the details, even though I think they're awesome details, describing the horns and all that stuff. When you're doing a math word problem, they always add extra numbers or extra things. What's the meat of it? So that's what I was trying to do, but that's where you all come in because I need your help. But so this seemed like the easy process, and then when I started looking in, started reading chapter 11, which we'll get to in a minute, I'm like, all right, I'm confused. Think of it as a math word problem, and then I still got a little confused. So I have an active timeline that I figured we could fill out. And then I did read in my Bible. It gives me what do you call it? Oh, references. And I looked at some of them ahead of us, and I know it's like a puzzle, and it's all going to work together at what point. Rita says, it's chilly. I bet it is. I hope you have some hot coffee or hot cocoa or something. It's chilly here, too. I have my hot tea. I always like to bring it anyway because my mouth gets dry when I talk a lot. But it is so cold. I'm always trying to remember that there's a little bit of a lag. So, working on things. Learning. So not only did I want to leave like my initial timeline thought process, but I wanted to go ahead and start some like discussion items to see how it fits because I'm trying to I'm trying to visualize what's going on here. So here's my questions. And somebody asked me this question. I thought it was a great question, and I don't know the answer, so wanted to write it down and see what we came up with. Does the rapture, according to Daniel, day 1335, happen during the tribulation, which looks like it's going to be 2,300 days long? And I put some reference points in there. And I'll just read them out of my Bible instead of the one part because I have it all set up for our actual readings. So the reason why I wrote these down, let's look. Revelations 1:9 says, I, John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation. So I wrote that one down because he says he's our companion during the tribulation, or in the tribulation. And in the kingdom and patience of Jesus Christ was in the isle that is called Patmos for the word of God and for the testimony of Jesus Christ. So, and as we read, Seal 5 brings up the souls, right, that was slain in God's name, Jesus' name. So I made that a reference because he says he's a companion in the tribulation. 6:11, and I started to put those up, but then I thought, well, we'll go through more of it later. And so that was the same thing about the souls, or the Seal 5 souls. They were all given the white robes, but then it says, where did I see it? And they're to rest, yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were and should be fulfilled. So I kind of took that as, so as they bring up those souls, then they're going to rest while we're going through tribulation, and then we will be coming to them later during rapture. But I might be wrong. That was my interpretation. And please add your 2 cents, because definitely whatever we can learn together, right? And then the last one I did was 7:1, And so 7-1 I picked because this is after the 6th seal, but before the 7th seal where the angels come. He said, after all these things, I saw the 4 angels standing on the corners holding on. So I just picked that because these things are going to happen. And then what it appears, because that's 7-1, and 8-1, the 7th seal gets opened. But then chapter 11, I get confused. So that's kind of why I put that there. And then I was looking, it says the first 6 seals happen together. So I was looking at it, and it talks about when he sees this seal open, he sees the 2nd seal, and he gives us all these details. But he doesn't like do a time frame. And then not until 7-1 where he says, okay, all these have happened, and now we're taking the 144,000 souls, 144,000 the people out of the tribes, right? Then the 7th seal happens. So that kind of made me lean towards maybe the first 6 seals happen together. So, or maybe the first 5, and the 6th seal is this part. That's the great earthquake, though, and we're going to reach that in a minute. So I was kind of confused. Thought I'd bring it to you guys, see what your thoughts were, see if you have any input on that. The one question I've been asking myself, and I just put it here because I was asking myself, what is the significance of these 7 churches? And I'm like, it's been bothering me, but I just had it like, do you ever just write notes and you go back to it? Can I answer it? Can I answer it? I felt like during my studies, I was able to answer that question for myself. Because he writes the letters to the church, and then I just picked the last verse of chapter 2. He says, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit said unto the churches. So I'm like, okay, because when he talked about all the churches, he talks about what he liked about them, what he didn't like about them. And that last verse, I thought, oh, he's saying what he said about those churches, we need to take in as guidance for how we should be. So that was one of those questions I had in the back of my mind. And I thought, that's the answer. So I don't know if you all had the same question, but if so, I thought I'd share something that came to me. Something that I don't know the answer to. What is the first sign of tribulation? What's the first sign that tribulation has begun? I think I did that English incorrectly. Or is there one? So, don't know yet. I thought I knew. I thought I was going to figure it out, but I haven't figured it out. But as I said, I read ahead earlier, and read ahead a little bit. I think it's all going to work together, but right now I'm confused. Then my last question so far at this point was on the 6th angel, the 4 angels are loose, but then it talks about 1 year, 1 month, 1 day, 1 hour. So at what I didn't understand what the 1 year, 1 month, 1 day, 1 hour represented. Were they only loose for that long, or were they tied to Euphrates River for that long to do their jobs, or that's how long they were before they were repositioned? It is in chapter 9, verse 15, and the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year, for to slay the 3rd part of men. So maybe they were loose for that long, and then that's when they're going to slay the 3rd part of the men. So I was a little confused on that wording. All right. What do you all think so far? Maybe too much of a review, maybe not. So that's where I'm at. And I thought that's a good something to refer back to. This is where I'm at. These are the questions I've been asked, or questions I asked myself. So before we start the next part of this journey, which is chapter 11. And I read like real fast, like 11 through 16 I read. I'm like, all right, I can tackle this. Then when I went to study it, wait a minute. This doesn't match what I thought it matched. And so going back and forth. All right. Wayne has some good stuff. Let's see. I'm not time behaves the same in God's timelines. The Bible says your ways are not God's ways. which to me makes it harder to establish how time is working in God's timeline. True. I get that. The only thing is, how do you, as we're looking at this, how do we fit it in? So I'll show you in chapter 11 when we read it what happened, why my mind I went down I went down this rabbit hole. I don't like going down rabbit holes, but I guess it's how you learn, right? All right, let's see. And I'll point out, and then what I did is as I read this chapter and reread it and went back, and it has a lot of references and other parts of Revelations, and I'm like, all right, let me see if I can make this match. And then, but that's a good point. I mean, God's timeline is different than ours, and then maybe the wording's a little different because God's timeline's different. So that makes sense. Maybe I'm being too logical, too analytical. I'm a math person, so that happens. So y'all have to keep me on on the straight and narrow. Don't be so literal, logical. Okay. That's why I have you guys. All right, so let's start with chapter 11. And if you see something or think of something, let me know. Verse 1. We're just going to start right here. And there was given me a reed like unto a rod. And the angel stood, saying, Rise, and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the courts which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. And the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. So, and the holy city shall tread underfoot for 42 months. So I don't know if that means they're heading or something. All right, it says only 59 degrees high today. We are below average. Drinking coffee. All right, I like that. I welcome this food for thought and how it applies for our world today. Our time reference does not apply. All right, Rita and Wayne are on the same track here. I'm stuck on a timeline and I shouldn't be. All right. Well, good points. And drinking coffee, good. It is fun. I mean, no matter what, this is fun. It's interesting and it helps us. I do believe that it helps us understand God and maybe our role in it. I'm not sure, and I don't know why God put that in my heart today to share the definition of fear that I learned from church, but thought that was good. All right, so on on verse 2, I do have a reference verse for us. Psalms 79:1. And you can see right here, I don't know if you can see it very good on your screen. It tells you where I'm at. So, 1, a Psalms of Asaph. O God, the heathen are come into thine inheritance. The holy temple have they defiled. They have laid Jerusalem on heaps. That doesn't seem like the right one. Let me just double check. Yep, it was the right one. O God, the heathen are come into thine inheritance. Thy holy temple have they defiled. They have laid Jerusalem on heaps. I'm not really sure why I decided to. That's what it says in my Bible to reference. I don't remember why I thought that was important. But I guess to show that Jerusalem was having an issue at the time. All right, verse 3. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. All right, that's where I start getting kind of confused here. And I know y'all said timelines are important. So the 1,260 days keeps popping up, right? So I'm trying to keep a hold of that. But is that, like you all said, if timelines aren't our time reference, maybe the 1,260 days happens in a lot of different places. You know, like it happens here and then it happens in another place, and maybe I'm mixing things up, and it might not even matter, but That's where they start talking numbers. My mind goes swirling. All right, verse 4. These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before the God of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. These have power to shut heaven, and it rain not in the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and smite the earth with all plagues as often as they will. I thought that was important, but we'll get back to that. So 1 Kings 17:1, and Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the inhabitants of Gilead, said unto Ahab, As the Lord God of Israel liveth, before whom I stand, there shall not be dew nor rain these years, but according to my word. So, no rain. No rain. The waters turn into blood. There will be plagues on the earth. And I just wanted to bring attention to that because we've already discussed that before with the seals. And that's where, this is why chapter 11 threw a wrench in all my stuff, because I'm like, wait a minute. We've heard this before. Where did we hear this? You know, we heard this whenever we opened the seals and the angels. And I have it in some of our other slides. So just keep in mind in that as we go through our next portions of it. And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them. Again. So, I'm like, what? The bottomless pit is Angel 5, right? Okay, maybe we're not to the next part yet. So keep that in mind. That's Angel 5. And their bodies shall lie in the streets in great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, which is also where also our Lord was crucified. All right, so Sodom and Egypt, where our Lord was crucified. And thy of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations to see their dead bodies for 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to put in graves. And they dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts to one another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwelt on the earth. After 3 days and a half of the spirit of life, God entered in them, and they stood up upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. And they heard a great voice from heaven, saying unto them, Come up hither. And they ascend up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. Missed one of those, but I missed a reference, but we're all right. Beheld them. The same hour was there a great earthquake, and the 10th part of the city fell, and in the earthquake were slain of men 7,000, and the remnant were affrighted and gave glory to the God of heaven. Which the huge earthquake, the great earthquake, is the 6th seal. So that's where I got confused too, because the angels is the 7th seal, and we have the angel, the bottomless pit was an angel, but here we have the great earthquake, which is the 6th seal. So that's where I kind of went, this is where I really started going down the rabbit hole. The second woe is past, and behold, and the third woe cometh quickly. And the 7th angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven, saying, The kingdoms of this world are becoming the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever. So the 7th angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven, saying, The kingdoms of this world are become by the kingdoms of our Lord and of his Christ, and he shall reign forever and ever. Which would make that part make sense, right? Because we were just talking about the 6th seal. Oh, that was 7th angel. We were talking about the 5th angel. All right, I don't remember what the 6th angel is, so we'll have to look at that when we get there. And the 24 elders which sat before God on their seats fell upon their faces and worshiped God, saying, We give thee thanks, O Lord God Almighty, which art and wast and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power, and hast resigned. And the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead. that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto the servants, thy prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And the temple of God was open in heaven, and there was seen in the temple the ark of his testament, and there were lightnings and voices and thunderings and an earthquake and great hell. You know, all this stuff is happening in heaven. When I was reading some of this, I'm thinking, all this is happening in heaven, and all these things are going on, and here we are just on earth doing what we're doing, and we don't get to see that. I mean, maybe at some point, I don't, if it comes after our time, maybe we're in heaven and seeing it, but you know, thinking about all the gold crowns and the 7 horns, and I'm just like, it'd be cool to see, but will we get to see any of this? You know, will we be on earth, or our souls not ascended to heaven yet? So, but anyway, back to this. I'm in awe about it all, I guess. The reference that I missed earlier was Psalm 79 again, verses 2 and 3. The dead bodies of thy servants have they given to be meat unto fowls of the heaven, the flesh of thy saints unto the beasts of the earth. Their blood have shed like water around about Jerusalem, and there was none to bury them. So that was the reference of the 2 that passed away, and they weren't being buried. And then I just kind of wanted, just for chapter 11 reference, I wanted to go to Daniel chapter 12 and 8 through 13. Daniel does talk a lot about the end times, and this was kind of my reference point, so I wanted just to go back here. So Daniel chapter 12 verses 8 through 13. And I heard, but I understood not, then said I, O my Lord, what should be the end of these things? And he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. So the words are closed now, you know, just so it's in there. Our names are in there or not. Many shall be purified and made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. All right, so, and from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away, and the abomination that maketh desolate, there should be 1,290 days. So interesting. Blessed is he that waiteth, and cometh to the 1,305 and 30 days. That's why I asked about the revelation or rapture happening. Blessed that he waiteth. And when it comes to 1,335 days, that's when we should maybe do the rapture. But go thou thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest and stand in thy lot at the end of the days. And stand in thy lot at the end of the days. So rest until it's the end of the days. Pretty cool. All right, let's see what Wayne has to say here. And on the 3rd day, time reference to a period of time. And for 40 days, another time reference. I think it would have been less confusing to simply have said for a period of time. Then we wouldn't have to try to interpret the significance of the number. That's a good point. And I know I do have a hang up with numbers because that's my thing, right? But a period of time. That's true. So then the next part is when we're talking about the different seals and the different angels, how do they correlate with each other? And I think that's where I got lost too. The number, having a number, as you see, I keep going to the number. I can't help it. But y'all are so right. You and Rita both. But the other thing was just figuring out, wait a minute. I thought Angel 5 took care of this and the seal took care of that. And so that was my next problem. Not only am I hung up on numbers, but now I'm hung up on the 7 seals and the 7 angels. But I appreciate that. And I need to work on, don't focus on the numbers. I know. It's hard though. You know, like, I understand numbers. So I need to work on that for sure. And thank you for that. So I just so we done with chapter 11. I just kind of want to show you what I had wrote for the timeline, and I know that now maybe I need to think of it differently, and I appreciate that. That's why we're having this conversation, because I will drive myself crazy, and this is probably why I never did it by myself, because it drives me crazy. But it was just kind of not only a recap, but also a thing for my mind. We're talking about 2,300 days, but like you said, 2,300 days to God might not be our 2,300 days. So that's a good point, and I'm going to actually highlight that to give myself a note. God's time, not Earth. Earth time. Okay. Thank you all. See, that's why I have you guys. Y'all are awesome. All right, and then I just said what the 7 seals were. And this is why I got confused at this part, because we did reference in chapter 11 about the earthquake, but that's seal 6, and the angels don't come till seal 7. So that's why I was a little confused there too. But we've got, I'm gonna make this a different color. Let's make that blue. God's time, not Earth time. I think that's what you're trying to say. For you and Rena both, so makes sense. And then I went ahead and just showed the 7 angels and highlighted, well, first of all, let me go back to chapter 11. It talks about when the 2 men, the 2 witnesses, there will be no rain, it'll be dark, there'll be plagues. So I wanted to highlight here, that's what happens. They also talk about, it also talks about the blood in the water, olive trees. The men will hurt with fire, power to shed, no rain, the waters turn into blood, and there'll be plagues, right? So then that made me think these first 4 angels was during that time. So that's why I was kind of looking at time too, because I'm like, oh, this part makes sense. Because as they discussed it, it was, sorry to keep going back and forth, and I have it written, you wouldn't believe all the notes I have, because I'm trying to like draw things and do time things. But here it talked about, I have it written down somewhere. Okay, that I'll tread for 42. This is where it was the 2,300 days. 2 months. Okay. It's 1,260 days. Okay, so 1,260 days. Let's write that on there so I don't forget. Maybe it's in this one. Nope. I'm going to just write myself 2 witnesses, 1,260 days. And we heard that earlier in a different part too, and I have it written down somewhere, I'm sure. What about okay. So then, all right, and if we go back, but then it tells us that in the beast from the bottomless pit comes and kills them, right? So that's where I got stuck too, because I think these 4 angels, it makes perfect sense. Everything that says that they're said in the beginning of chapter 11. So it was just the part where the beast from the bottomless pit happens, and then the earthquake, and the earthquake was a seal, not an angel, and that was my rabbit hole. All right, Wayne says, at one Bible study I attended, the topic of how Jesus told the criminal hanging on the cross next to him, today you'll be with me in paradise. Yet in the Apostles' Creed it says he descended. Yes. And you know, when I took my courses in college on the New Testament, it did talk about like it was about Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And all 3 of them basically tell the same stories but in a different perspective. And when you go, like one is generous, one is are more empathetic and passionate, and one was more logical, and I forget what the other one was. And it's like, oh, okay, that's why, it might say 5 fish here, and the other story might say 3 fish. It was their perspective or how they interpreted the story. So I see, that's true. Into hell, and on the third day, so unless time is different than how we understand it, into hell, and on the third day, unless time, yes. So, not only, okay, I'm trying to reword, so part of this too is I'm trying to see correlation. Like if what these, in this particular instance, the 4 angels here in this part, they talk about the same things that happened during the 2 witnesses prophecy. So do they happen simultaneously? Do they happen separately? Time has to be dramatically different. It has to be dramatically different. I agree. Like, 1,260 days. What does that look like in Earth days versus God's days, right? I agree. But do they? But back to a couple of, like, okay. So let me just go back for a second. So back to the questions. My thoughts are, does this mean, does the tribulation happen and the rapture happens during the tribulation? Some people believe the rapture is going to happen before the tribulation. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, when I'm reading about the seals and the angels, do these happen at the same time? And so that, maybe be able to answer that question to some degree. And then that was my next one, is the first 6 seals happen together. Do they happen together? Do they not happen together? More so than I'm worried about 1 year, 1 month, 1 day, 1 hour. Excuse me. I'm trying to figure out where, when he opens the book, and he opens the seal, and he opens the seal, and he opens this, does he's opening them kind of like fast, and this pulls out, and this pulls out, and that pulls out, and then he says, okay, these are done, now we're going to do this. That's what I shared with you in the end of chapter 6, right? So he's in chapter 7, he talks about the 144,000 men, tribes. In chapter 8, then we open the 7th seal. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. What does the seals and angels happen together or not happen together? More so, I'm trying to like intertwine everything. Or are they all separate? It's just like certain things make sense. Like these first 4 angels make sense with the 2 witnesses. But this is fun, right? You having fun? We could be all wrong. Who knows? I could be all wrong. I don't know. But it's still fun. It's like makes your mind think. As Rita said, food for thought. It's just fun. And hopefully learning stuff as I go. And I appreciate your all's comments about don't get so stuck on the numbers. I really got to quit being stuck on the numbers. I think I mentioned this before, but to me, this life is shorter than the blink of an eye when compared to everlasting life. Yes, I agree. And, just kind of reading this, I doubt this is going to happen in our lifetime. But it's like the letters to the 7 churches, when I had the epiphany this week about, this is, if you have ear, hear this, this is what he's telling us how we should be. And so I don't know why God put it on my heart to read Revelations. I don't know, I was praying, I'm like, you put this on my heart, give me the words. But there's a message here that I think I wasn't taught. And like, okay, now chapter 2 and 3 means more to me now that I thought about you've got to listen to what I'm saying to these 7 churches, because this is how how I expect you to improve yourself, kind of thing. That's how I'm taking it. And I'm like, all right, I'm missing something that he wants me to learn. And I'm sure it's going to come to you guys because I get stuck. See, this is why I can't do this by myself. I go down too many rabbit holes. Metaphysical interpretations available online. Metaphysical interpretations available online. All right. Thank you for that, Miss Rita. I appreciate that. Metaphysical interpretations available online. Okay, I have to check that out. Let's see. I will check that out. I'm going to write it down, though. I tell you what, I have so many notes. I love it. I go back through and look at all of this. Today, before at 2:30 this morning, I had to take all my notes and separate them. Here's Daniel stuff. Here's the angel stuff. Here's the church stuff. And I'm a paper pen person. Then at one point, I'm like, all right, just start writing it in the PowerPoint, and it'll help you organize it a little bit more. Interpretations online. All right, I got it, Miss Rita. I wrote it down. I do so much better with paper and pen. All right, where were we? All right, so this part will be in a minute when we go to chapter 12. So what do you all think so far? Did I go down too many rabbit holes? It's like, I love your all's input and guidance. I really appreciate it. Too much on the actual time. It's kind of like those 7 days, right, in Genesis, the beginning. What was 7 days, How long did those, in the Bible, it says he created, earth and night and day and everything. You made a good point. I'm just thinking about what you said out loud. You never know how long those 7 days really took. And 7th day he rested, Then we take things literally. It's like, so is 7th day really the church, the day we were supposed to rest for church? Because was it really 7 days? I don't know. It gets really, you could really get down a whole bunch of rabbit holes, I think. Trying to understand Revelation is like the analogy I talked about of me talking to an ant, right? I'm a spiritualist, not so much religious. Yes, but I think there's, so much to learn, just talking. I know you might have missed some of the other ones, but talking about like what the beasts look like and the lion and stuff, it does help you understand like where these movies or people's creativity comes from, because it's like you watch some of these movies. I can't think of any because I'm not a real big, like, I don't know about Lord of the Rings, or I know there were some that I watched, and they had these weird creatures. It's like, where'd they come up with this idea? And then you read the Bible and you're like, oh wow, these are even wilder than what was in the movies. Just thinking about it. But yes, I think it all comes together eventually. So chapter 12. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. I just love how much, description they put in everything. And she, being with child, cried, traveling in birth and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. See, I just love all these descriptions. It's amazing. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. And the woman fled into wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her 1,260 days. There we go again with the number. I know, don't stick on it. That's 1,260 days. Again, we hear that number. It's just the same numbers over and over. What? I know I have a reference here, so I want to make sure. Okay, so reference Isaiah 66, 7. Before she traveled, she brought forth. Before her pain came, she was delivered of a man child. So I don't know if a man child means a son, like a baby son, or does it mean that the child was already half born? I have no idea. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. Wayne says Revelation is significant, but it's just too hard to interpolate because we have such few references to relate to. Right. It's like, I can't even, I like to visualize what I read. And just right here, the dragon with the, how did it say? A red dragon having 7 heads, 10 horns, 7 crowns. Just the adjectives alone or the descriptions alone, it's hard to imagine, to make that visual happen in your head, and then not understanding, like, since this is so in the future, not understanding how this would look. But here we are. No, but here we are. And I think that's why there's not a lot of teaching on it, because it is so hard to interpretate and to discuss, because like you said, we don't have that much reference, and we don't have that much comprehension of this, and it does seem kind of depressing in a way, but exciting in a way. So I agree. And befell not, neither was the place. Okay. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found on any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out unto the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, Now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwelleth in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devils come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times and a half of time, from the face of the serpent. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he may cause her to be carried away of the flood. And I have Isaiah 59:19 as a reference. So Isaiah 59:19. So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. All right, Wayne says, Michael kicked Lucifer's butt. Would have been easier to understand. Yes. I like it, Wayne. That's right. Give it to us in today's words. But like the NIV, I try to reference that. And sometimes the NIV just goes, it's nice to have, but sometimes it just goes way off. So, I'm all right, I'm going to try to understand the King James. But it's hard. But yes, I like that. Michael kicked his butt. Kicked him out of there. I like it. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, which the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which kept the commandments of God, and had the testimony of Jesus Christ. Okay. Some of this, I'm thinking, it's just like he was, like Wayne's saying, it's hard to understand. And then when you go to the next chapter, or maybe a few chapters later, it's like, oh, okay, now let me go back. That's what happened to me in chapter 11. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And then I went back and reread several of the chapters we've already read to kind of even it out. So I didn't spend a lot of time on this because I think it's going to make more sense. And as I looked in my Bible and it referenced chapters ahead of us. So I didn't want to spend a lot of time on this because we're going to have to come back to it because it's going to talk more about it in like chapter 19. But it is right now here. So she has this man-child. The dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. So this dragon is trying to take her child, and she's fighting it. And this child is going to be, he's going to be, which kept the commandments of God and had the testimony of Jesus Christ. So he's going to be a good person, I guess. We'll see. King James Version is an oldie but a goodie. Yes. So I was raised kind of like Southern Baptist, and I was told you only read the King James Version. My devotions I do in the mornings are not all King James. I read it off of In Touch Ministries, and sometimes they use King James, sometimes they use NIV, sometimes they use the English something version. And that works, I think, for the devotion. It's nice. If I'm not sure about something, then I refer back to my King James. But I like it. I like the other versions just to kind of lighten things up and easy to understand. But when I want to learn, I do the King James, which my preacher said, don't have things hanging on your wall unless they have a verse on them, and don't read anything but the King James. Everything is abomination except King James. So I do have a little old school in me, and that's what I do. So, all right, Chris Terry says, was it a literal woman in heaven versus verse 1? Okay, so good point, Chris Terry. So it says, and there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. Actually, a woman in heaven. It says a literal woman in heaven. And she's pregnant with a man-child. So she is. And this is where it starts being, then you have the red dragon, and now they're going to kick out the devil and all the devil's angels. So, and then they're trying to get rid of this child, but the child's protected at this point. So yes, I hope I answered your question. So verse 1, off topic. But who built Mr. Snowman? Oh, for my devotion yesterday. So my daughter and my 3-year-old grandson built the snowman. Then once they built it, they came in and we had to look for all the little buttons and eyes and everything. And it's mostly fruit. And we were afraid that the animals would eat the fruit before I got to take my devotion the next morning, but we're okay. So Chris Terry, I think normally no, but in this situation, and this is Revelations 12:1, it says yes, that this woman is pregnant in heaven. So I don't think that a plural, but in this particular case, yes. And then later on, when we get to chapter 19, I think it tells us more. I think it was something interesting happens later on. Excuse me. So, but yes, in this particular case, there is a pregnant woman in heaven. But I don't think normally pregnant women are in heaven. I haven't heard of that. So, good questions. Women are pregnant in heaven. There are literal women in heaven with angels. Okay, Chris Terry says I thought it was the same one, so sorry. There are literal women in heaven with the angels. Interesting. Okay, let me go back. There are literal women in heaven with the angels. I'm not sure that particular question. There are literal women in heaven with the angels. So, in this chapter, There will be heaven. So I'm not sure about that question. In this particular case, yes, that one woman. The other angels, I don't think it ever says if they're women or men. Um, so, sorry, I have a blanket on me because I'm cold. Um, let's look. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. Man child. So I think that's a good question. I'm going to look that up. Literal women in heaven with angels. I would say yes. Because you have, we have Michael that's an angel, Gabriel that's an angel. They're all men. So I see your question. But I'm not sure if I understand. There's a couple ways I could take that. But in this particular case, yes, a woman is in heaven with the angels, getting ready to have a baby. All right, good questions. Thank you. Now, hopefully, I answer them. I just have to I think out loud and then work my way through it. So I apologize for that. All right, chapter 13 is very interesting. And I only have one reference point here. So, before we move to chapter 13, my question was, so if we go back to chapter 12, so when she is here in heaven, the woman's clothed, she's pregnant, blah, blah, blah. It appears that this happened after tribulation. Because in chapter 11, I'm not sure. This is my question. I don't know the answer to this. Because it says, and the nations were angry, and the wrath has come, the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou should give us reward unto servants and the prophets and to the saints, small and great, and should destroy them which destroy the earth. So maybe not even after tribulation, but after, I guess it would be after tribulation, after it's all done, and after it's all said and done, then chapter 12 happens. That's how I'm reading it. So the earth is destroyed, and now we are at this woman, and Satan's kicked out of heaven. I remember hearing once that the earth was referred to as Christ's bride. So wording might be more for our retaliability. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. I remember hearing once. Well, true. A woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet upon her head. I mean, it kind of makes sense what you're saying, too, because the woman's clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, and she has 12 stars. So I can see what you're saying. And Chris Terry was asking, was it a little woman? But she's pregnant. No bodies in heaven. That's true too, because they're all souls and spirits. Man, y'all are making some great points. I love this. Good points. Okay, so who's literally, what's literal? But she's pregnant. She's traveling, or she's going to give birth. Leave body on earth. So, good points. Because he brings up the souls, right? And we know that, even it talked about it earlier. The seal 5, I think, is, let me go back. I think it's, seal 5 takes the souls, so leaves the bodies. So that is true. But, is it a true angel, maybe? But that would be a soul. She's pregnant. Oh, y'all have good questions. All right. So I'm going to put that here. Okay. Woman. Daggone it. I think that's good. Woman pregnant. Literal. Bodies on earth. Souls only in heaven. Well, we know that it tells us that, right? So those are good points. So I have that under discussion points. Sorry, Chris Terry, I probably led you incorrectly. That's how I had taken it. But Wayne and Rita have great points. So we're going to have to wait until later on to see if we can figure that out. Because when we read later on, we'll find out some more things. But those are great questions and great points to bring out. And I have it on our discussion. And as we go through it, I'm just going to keep these discussion points going so we can learn and go. Because it's just like chapter 11. I had so many questions. And then writing them down helps. And then as we answer them, we could go back. And before I did that, and that helped. So maybe we'll learn. I don't know. Great questions. Anything else you could think of? I love it. All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So let's start with chapter 13. Keep the questions coming and we'll just keep adding them to our list. Verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads, 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. That was a super fast hour, pregnant with not a baby, as we know. Rita, right. It was a fast hour. It might take us a minute. We can still have a lot to cover yet. Baby, right. That's what I'm wondering too, because it says man-child, and it is italicized. So, what is the man-child? It's a lot to learn there. If it was a super fast hour, hopefully that means it was super interesting. And we still have a little bit more to discuss. So I was trying to keep it at an hour, but I got carried away. I love this stuff. It's so fun. But yes, pregnant baby as we know it. So let me go back to this. Man-child. Because it's something we don't know. Good point. I love it. Yes. All right. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and his great authority. All right, Chris Terry says, verse 1 is symbolic. There's a great example of a very similar prophecy in Genesis 37, 9, 10. All right. Let's see what we got here. Genesis 9:10. Oh, sorry. Genesis 37. We could do that. Let's see what we got. Okay, this is Genesis 37, 9, 10. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren, and his father rebuked it, and said unto him, What is the dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and thy mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee to the earth? No. The man-child is Christ. Well, it said, I don't think I didn't take it as it was Christ, because it says here, and the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which kept the commandments of God, and had the testimony of Jesus Christ. So, I'm not sure. Thanks, Wayne. It was super interesting. Thank you. So, I could see your point, Chris Terry. It's because it has a toast. I know, I was kind of confused there too, because it says, and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Does that mean he is Jesus Christ? Went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which kept the commandments of God and had the testimony of Jesus. The 12 stars are the 12 tribes of Israel. We talked about that in the one of the other earlier chapters. Talks about what the seven, like the seven candlesticks or the seven spirits of God, and in the beginning of Revelations, it does kind of tell you what all those are. But the 12 tribes of Israel makes complete sense for sure. But is the child Christ? I mean, it could be, because that could be why it has the testimony of Jesus Christ, right? That would make sense. Sort of like when I watch my favorite TV series, the episodes are over too quickly, right? Sorry, I got choked. Definitely. Quickly. Chris Terry, I think you're bringing up some great points. So, did I write that on there? I just wrote a question for the man-child. So hopefully it'll tell us. I think as we go through, it'll tell us more and more. Giving it more definition. That's what I've been kind of learning, especially this time, is the more I learn, the more I read, the more I have to go back and say, oh, that makes sense. That's why I kind of started the whole discussion points, because I'm going to have to go back and see where did that fit and what was my question. So hopefully we'll figure that out. I'm just going to, let's see, we'll finish up chapter 3, and then I just have a couple of things I wanted to cover too, but keep asking questions. I love it, and I'll write it down, and we can revisit as much as we want, and there's no wrong answers. I might not know the answers, but definitely write it down and be able to look back at it. And we have such a good group. We can answer each other's questions, because I sure don't know. I'm just trying to learn, and I think those are great. I'm not sure. And I'm on verse 3, chapter 13. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. We've heard that before, the 42 months. And he, I'll make sure I don't miss it. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds, tongues, and nations. And all that dwelleth upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. All right, so Exodus, my last one I'm doing reference. Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book which thou hast written. It's kind of cool to think that the book's already written, our names are already in it, and if we are, I guess, we're going to get blotted out if we're not doing the right things, right? Like, we're not being Christian, we're not following God's word, and it's kind of interesting to be like, oh, snap, we're just going to be blotted out. I liked that reference. I thought it was, it's kind of maybe a little morbid, but kind of sad, and kind of like, I better do the right things, right? If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword, and did live. And he had power to give life unto an image of the beast. And that image of the beast should both speak, and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast and the number of his name. Here's wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. All right, let's see. That was a lot. All right, Lane says, Martin Luther must have been thinking about Revelation when he wrote the hymn, A Mighty Fortress. I haven't heard of that, A Mighty Fortress. Just check that one out. Fortress. Chris Terry says, who led people into captivity in verse 10? This has to be a major captivity because it made it to the book of Revelation. Oh, I think that's good. So he that leadeth into, I don't think that it's a, I mean, when I read it, I think it was, to me, it was just like the next part. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Who leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. So if you put somebody in, it kind of took it like, if you killed somebody with a sword, you're going to be killed with a sword. If you like put somebody in captivity, then you're going to go into captivity. So, you know, like you have a kidnapper, for example, then they're going to be kidnapped. That's how I took it. You know, like whatever your sin is, that will be your, that'll be what happens to you. Did you ever read like Dante's Inferno? I had to read that in college. So there was all these different stages of hell, and depending on what you did, it's where you went. And then whatever you did that was, you know, bad. I don't know. There's a lot of reference points. There was some bad things, and that's how you're stuck for the rest of your life because of your sin. So that was my reference point when I read verse 10. That's how I thought about that. It was like in a Dante's Inferno. And if you haven't read that, that's a pretty interesting, dark book. And then when I went to Russia and I went to one of the churches, I think it was called Church of Christ, the white one, not St. Basil, but it was the white one. You go way down there's like different basements. You go down and it's like Dante's Inferno is painted on the wall. So I kind of have that whole scenario. So that was my thought process when I read verse 10. I don't know about you guys. Wouldn't that be Satan? And it could be. And maybe I looked at it wrong. That was it's where my mind went, was Dante's Inferno. So could it be the transatlantic slave trade? I've heard it was the worst captivity ever. You know, I don't know. I don't know. It could be. I don't know that. That was my way of thinking, was just that whatever, kind of like whatever your sin was, is how you're going to be punished, I guess is the right word. So, but could it be some big, huge thing? I don't know. Kind of scary to think about. It's like, But great question, yes. And it would be a lot of people. It'd be crazy. And we finally see where that 666 was. Okay, so here's where I have my problems. Okay, woman with man-child comes and a red dragon. So then we have more questions here. Was the pregnant woman literal? Maybe she's on earth, because, you know, bodies are on the earth, souls are in the heaven. Is the man-child really a thing? So I'm going to actually move this up here because it relates here. I think those are all good questions that hopefully we'll get answers to. Let me erase this one so it all fits nicely. So because they're talking about kicking Satan out of heaven and his angels, right? So, and then he's on earth. So is there some way that maybe it's really on earth and not actually, but it says a woman in heaven. So if we go back to that, y'all got me stuck. I'm gonna go down another rabbit hole. But I love it because that's how I learn. That's how I learn. I mean, I know it drives y'all probably crazy when I go down rabbit holes, but I love it. I love it. There appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. I don't know. That one's going to get me. That one's really going to get me. Okay, I left off here. Could it be the transatlantic trade? Rita says karma, balance in all things. Yes. Right. Balance in all things. I agree. Sort of the saying, you sow what you reap. Good points. So y'all kind of took it the same way, it seems like. Chris Terry says, the red dragon was Rome trying to kill Christ as soon as he was born. Maybe. I mean, I know there's a lot of references out there. And I have a lot of reference points too. I'm trying to look at and that would make sense. I actually was looking something up, and I did not realize that Rome, at one point, how much Rome controlled. Like, I actually have, let me get this out of here. So, in this one map I have, it's like Rome covered all of this at one point, right? So, that would make sense. I don't know if I have where I saw that. I know where I saw that at, but I don't know if I can pull it up. But I didn't realize that Rome actually controlled that much of where God was, or where Jesus was, excuse me. I don't think I could find it because I was doing a study on something else and I ran across it. Well, I mean, it was on this Revelations, but I was going down my rabbit holes and like, oh, where's this? Where's that? Nope, I don't know where it was. It might be right here because it was about nope, that was something else. But that would make sense. Sorry, don't mean to take so long on that. That would make sense. But at this point, we're already through. But if Jesus Christ was the Messiah and that happened, and then here we are at the tribulation point and rapture point, then, and we've already had all these seals and angels already happening. But time, like Rita and Wayne said, it's God's time, not earth time. So, something to think about. It's a good point. Okay, so let me write that down. Is the red dragon Rome trying to kill Christ? So if that's the case, we're already like into the tribulation. But John, I don't know, was it all a reflection? So are you saying that when John wrote this, a lot of this was reflection and not future? But if we go back, okay, now I'm going to really go on a rabbit hole here. So let's go back to 1. Okay, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto me to shew unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. Does say must shortly, and he sent and signified it by his angels unto his servant John. So somewhere it talks about every eye shall see him, they also which pierce him. I'm Alpha Omega, I John, who also your brother and companion, and in the kingdom was in the isle that called Patmos for the word of God and for the testimony of Jesus Christ. I was in the spirit of the Lord's day and heard behind me a great voice as of a trumpet. Thou see it, write in a book and send it into the 7 churches. Okay, so somewhere it tells us who is a faithful witness, and from Jesus Christ who is a faithful witness, and the first begotten of the dead, the Prince of Kings of the earth, unto him that loved us and washed us from the sins. Well, so, okay, I think that's the next question. So, is Revelation all futuristic? Or historical? Or historical? That's a good question. Yes. Wayne says King Herod commanded all male childs 2 years or younger be killed to prevent the new king from taking over his earthly kingdom. Well, that's good. Okay, that's good. Good. I like this conversation. So I didn't think about that. How much of this is futuristic versus revelation? Okay, I'm gonna reword that. Revelation, futuristic versus historical. Look at you, Chris Terry. Getting us some good conversations here. All right. So that is some good points. So I'm thinking about this like totally different than it needs to be, right? So I love it. Okay, so futuristic versus historical. So at some point I've got to figure out in my mind what's historical, what's futuristic. And going back to look at Revelations 1 just now, it did say what I wasn't expecting it to say, right? So, and the kingdom and patience of Jesus Christ was the outlet for the word of God and for the testimony of Jesus Christ. So, maybe a lot of this is more historical than I anticipated. I didn't think about that. But we have a lot of 1260 days. So how much has this already happened? And where are we in the process of this? If a lot of this is historical, right? I just wrote it so we know he's cast out of the heavens. Let me erase that. The beast has power for 42 months. Wayne says a kind of a mixture of all time events. That makes perfect sense. It does make perfect sense. So I definitely need to research that some more. I'm like, all right, because I could see it both ways. I could see some of that being historical, some of it being futuristic, and maybe that's where trying to do this timeline. So my timeline is like, I've got to fix this timeline. It was a living document for myself, so it's like, got to keep working on it. All right, so what's historical versus what's futuristic is definitely the next thing I want to work on. The beast has power for 42 months. Whoever doesn't worship the beast will be unalived. Here's where I was really stopped too. So early on, it talks about they're going to take the 144,000 men, the 12 tribes of Israel, and they're going to have something on their foreheads. So that threw me off, right? Because it's like, why are they going to have something on their foreheads? But then when we get to chapter 13, it says that something's going to be in our right hand and in our foreheads, or in our foreheads. So the in part versus on part really got me too, because, just thinking about what's going on in today's world, are we going to have microchips or something? Because that's in and not on. And I always was taught it was going to be on. But then when we were in chapter, what was it? I think it was chapter 9. It talks about, no, sorry, it's where the tribulations are. Or where the elders are here, the tribes. So in chapter 7, it says, saying, hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed their servants of our God in their foreheads. So I don't know if that's a specific thing that they're doing, but that kind of confused me a little bit. But then in chapter 13, talked about in. Wayne says, your cheddar just turned into Swiss cheese. Isn't that the truth? I love it, though. Makes you want to learn more and more and more. I like it. So now I have all these holes. So that's what's fun about doing Bible study. And I thought I had a solid timeline I wouldn't say solid timeline, but I thought I had a good start. And now it's all Swiss cheese. There's holes everywhere. And that's okay. And I think that's exciting and fun. I think it's fun, but it'll drive me crazy for the next week. I'll be pulling my hair out. Do you all have anything else you want to add to our new discussion points? Because we're not going to go over my crazy timeline now that I have Swiss cheese instead of cheddar. I think this is great. Thank you, Chris Terry and Rita and Wayne, for all that information. Wow. Y'all made some fantastic points I didn't even think about. So just want to make sure I catch everybody's viewpoints because this is great. And then the timeline, it blew my timeline completely out because I didn't think historical versus futuristic at all. I was just thinking all futuristic. I'm not really good like doing a lot of outside references because I'm trying to like the one reference that I do use that's outside of the Bible, it just got like timelines and the viewpoints that I showed at the intro of this Bible study. But it has a lot of maps, and I really like the maps. It gives me an idea what to look for. And Daniel, when he talks about the end times, some of the places he talks about, Iran, today's Iran, and then the 7 churches are actually in today's Turkey. There's so many things in that whole area that I got confused because I thought everything wasn't going to be in Israel. So this, widened my eyes. And at one point it talks about from, one of the seas to Euphrates River. That's the land that he promised. What was it? The Red Sea to Euphrates River. Don't quote me on that. I had to look it up. So geographically, I had no idea, right? So learning a lot about all of this. It's so fun. It was fun today. Yay, I'm glad. All right, so we're going to skip the timeline. I'm going to work on that, I promise. Does anybody have any prayer requests? My door's open, so hopefully I can figure out how to get my prayer request up here. Can you see it? Yep, a little bit. All right, so we did get an update on Levi. I'll put it closer. We did get an update on Levi. He's out of ICU, and he's in, I don't think I can make it any better here. Turn you guys, nope, the wrong way. All right, so Levi is out of ICU, but getting rehab and still having some medical issues. So please keep him in your prayer. Miss Amy, she's building her a tiny home. I'm so excited. Our children, peace. Someone said everyone that's suffering. America, Miss Sally, she does Sally's D reality. Keep her in your prayers. I know she's going, I don't think y'all can see all of that. She's still going through some medical stuff, so keep her in your prayers. Yvonne, she is so wonderful. Watch her Nana 5, and she's doing her little devotions, and she had fell and got a new car. Debbie Sue just had surgery. I hear she's doing well. I haven't talked to her. Dean and his mom, I think they finally, the mom got to go back to work today after car wreck. And always, Wayne, I know you were doing your cardiac rehab, and LW asked to be added on the list. So I wanted to go over a little slower because people sent me requests, and I was too fast last time. So if you have any, make sure you send those to me. And I wanted to leave you guys with a couple of things to think about here. Uh-oh. If that will stay. Sorry. All right. So then I just did the verse for the day. Revelations 1:8. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the ending, said the Lord, which is and which was and which is to come, the Almighty. I liked that. And then last thing, I wanted to say thank you. I wanted to give you a little bit of information here. I have another Spark video that'll be out, but I'm going to be collaborating, doing some political stuff next Tuesday, which will be outside of my norm. But I think it'll be fun. Everything goes as planned. But it'll definitely be a different side of me that you've never seen before. So I'm a little nervous about you'll see me be political, but I do think it'll be fun. It won't be on my channel, but I'll make sure that I have the information so you all can find the link, and it'll be easy. But it'll be Tuesday night, and then hopefully I'll get to go live. I'm hoping to do some more Spark and maybe go live or do some other stuff. Saturday, I'm hoping to go to a parade, and I might have a silent live. I've never done that before, so maybe if I could do that, I will do that as well. So that's what I have coming up. And So next time we have a lot of questions on our discussion panel. If you think of anything, email me or have it ready for next time. And hopefully we could get 14, 15, and 16 done. So that's the game plan. I appreciate you all. Thank you all so much. This has been a great lesson today. God bless you.